There are things that need to evolve and change in emergency services. So, you used to, put out fires with, buckets of water, and smoke inhalation wasn't, as long as you could stand it, it wasn't necessarily an issue. And now we know there's toxins in these cancer-causing products. So everything has evolved, and we need people and perspectives to help us evolve that way. So everything from writing new standard operating procedures to updating our bylaws, we have a great need for all this content to grow this department.
Hello, folks, and welcome to Swimming in the Flood, a podcast where we talk about leadership through character, confidence, and commitment. My guest today is Shawn Carmody. Shawn, welcome. How are you today?
I'm good, Trent. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Shawn is the current first fire chief with the Bedford, New York Fire Department and has been the former chief. Shawn has 17 years of experience in emergency services and is 10th as chief of the department. And in his role, he oversees emergency response, training, personnel management, public safety, and education. But most notably, he has saved multiple kittens from trees, although I understand they are normally fearful of seeing you come. Why is that? Why are cats scared of you?
I don't know. You'll have to ask them, but I'm sure they have a very good reason.
So, Shawn, you had a career in finance, which you spent the first 20 plus years, and then you decided to become more involved in your local fire department, which I understand is a volunteer fire department, correct?
That is correct, yes.
And so what made you make that jump?
Well, it probably goes back almost 20 years. I was working in the city at Citigroup at the time, and enjoying the career, and it was a lot of hours, the commuting, all part and parcel with roles like that. And I got to the point where I felt like I didn't really even know my community that well. I've been living there for several years, but the people I knew were through our kids, their children. Which is very common. And there was one full full school year where I didn't, set foot in the elementary school. And it just sort of woke me up a little bit, and I wanted to get something closer to home. I was commuting 1.5 to 2 hours each day, down into Manhattan and back and all that. But in the meantime, I was looking to move away from Citigroup and look for that next role. I wanted something to do in town, and my wife actually suggested, the fire department. It's been great ever since.
So, Shawn, let me see if I get this right. Your wife wanted to see you in a fire uniform, and that's why you've spent the last 17 years as a volunteer firefighter.
Yeah, I mean, I'm smart as well, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. How is a volunteer fire department different than, say, the New York City Fire Department, where I assume that those people are all paid? How does that work differently?
They're paid. They're staffed in-house, set number of members per apparatus. Whereas we're sort of on call. We wear pagers and get notified through our phone of calls. So we're not at the fire station necessarily doing shifts. Sometimes people do, but generally we're home or we're at work or we're around town, and then we get the call and we scramble to the firehouse, put a crew together on the right apparatus for the type of call and respond.
Sure. And the other volunteer firemen, are they fire people, I guess, are they of similar backgrounds as to you? They're all living in your town.
Yep.
But they're all same age, and they said, after a certain point in my career, I want to give back to my community. Is that how most people come into this role?
There's some that have been involved, from the time they turn, 18 years old, and, they're in their 60s now, and they're still doing it. You have people, you have tradespeople who work in town. We have lawyers and doctors. We have, all walks of life. It's little bit of everything.
It sounds like you've just described a lot of business leaders in their singular profession have joined. Does having that many leaders in one organization cause any issues?
It doesn't generally. It brings opportunity because everyone's bringing a different perspective from their backgrounds that benefits the organization as a whole, and we can use that to grow. And we've seen that, or I've certainly seen that in the time that I've been there, in the types of members and backgrounds that they have. They bring a wealth of experience and different thoughts of how to run an organization, how to promote an organization. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest challenges we have is promoting what we do. I mean, many people think we're paid and that we're not a volunteer department.
It sounds interesting in that you have all these leaders. They come with different ideas, and they have to get sorted out somehow. Do they all have a different way that they want to organize a department, or they have different ways they want to go through procedures? What are they bringing individually to something that sounds like has been in existence for 100+ years?
It has, but there are things that need to evolve and change in emergency services. So, it used to put out fires with buckets of water, and smoke inhalation wasn't, as long as you could stand it, it wasn't necessarily an issue. And now we know there's toxins in these cancer-causing products. Everything has evolved, and we need people and perspectives to help us evolve that way. So everything from writing new standard operating procedures to updating our bylaws, we have a great need for all this content to grow this department.
When you bring new people in, how often do you need new bodies work? Do you have a fulfillment quota?
It does. It is ad hoc. We're always advertising, and people can put in an application on our website, and we try to be very honest with what we do and the type of commitment that's needed. It's like, yes, we're a volunteer organization, but really the only sort of volunteer part of it is the day you decide to join. You volunteered to do that. After that, there are stipulations and training requirements and activity requirements. It can often be more than someone's thinking that they're going to be taking on. But sure, we prepare them for that.
You were a senior leader in the finance world in Manhattan. What's the difference between hiring for finance and hiring for somebody for the Bedford, New York Fire Department?
Hiring somebody, in a corporate environment, they generally come with experience and knowledge. Hiring for us, generally, you come with no experience or knowledge. I mean, and I'm a perfect example of that. I had no prior experience, no exposure to emergency services. I didn't know a fire engine from a truck company. And so you have to look at the integrity and character of the person based on a very short time through interview process that you think, all right, we see potential in this person, and we think they'll be able to do the training and hopefully down the road, be a leader in this organization. Because personally, that's what I'm looking for every time we bring someone in is, will you be the next leader? Like, push me out. Get me to a spot where you take over, and I'm not in this role anymore.
Wow, what an interesting philosophy to hire. So you're looking at somebody the day they're coming to interview as, could this be the next fire chief in 3, 5, 10 years? That's how you're thinking about it. Is there one question or a series of questions you ask that you look to assess character? You said that's one of the primary items that you're going for in these interviews.
One of the biggest questions we ask is, does your family know? And what do they feel about this? It's no matter how much a member or a candidate may be interested in joining, it's like if they don't have that support at home, you're not going to be successful at all. But I mean, as far as character, it's always a difficult thing to measure. I think I think that takes a while to really develop what someone's character is. I haven't found a great way that over a 15-minute interview would necessarily can understand a person's true character, because
Sure.
like we know, character is what you do when nobody's watching. So
That's exactly right. I got to imagine one of the real challenging parts of your job is you're on a call, you go to somebody's house, and there's some level of emergency, and they're looking at you to save them, solve this, protect them in somehow. And it must require this great level of confidence inside of you, although I'm sure there's nervousness that takes place inside of you. How do you project confidence to your clients, I guess would be the right way to call
yeah, no, there are clients, absolutely. It's like the swan, right? He's nice and calm on the water, but underneath is paddling like crazy, and yeah, it is absolutely. And so you just whatever the situation is, you really have to just keep that stoic face, and you know, um, assure them that we're doing everything we can in the situation. We got more people coming. Here's what's going to be happening. And then, from experience, it gets easier with that. But I mean, fear and anxiety, without a doubt, plays a major role in what we're doing every day. And but we just have to always promote and project that personal confidence, and no matter what we do. And if I'm calmer at the scene, then the people we're working with are going to be calmer. And then when our resources come and they see that hopefully calmness, they're going to be calm. And it just helps everybody focus a little bit more on, what the task is that we're trying to accomplish here.
I can imagine the ability to project that and project a steady hand, your pulse, your heart rate is low, gives them a sense of things might be okay. There might be a way out of this. Inside your organization, with this confidence that you want to project, how do you train people perhaps and not to project overconfidence, not to exceed what they should do?
Yeah. I mean, to have humility, understand that, you're going to make mistakes. We're going to make mistakes, and it's okay. Own it. Don't try to hide it. Don't have hubris on anything, and share your experiences. We're only going to grow as an organization if from the top down, we're all moving together and we're sharing stuff and we're communicating. And that's a key thing. It's just constant communication, with the membership. I don't know. I just, overconfidence just builds, destructive behaviors, I think, within the whole organization, or it can, it can lead to a lack of trust by other members. And, if they don't trust you, or if you don't trust them, that's just, that's not a foundation that's going to be something you're going to build something successful on.
What do you think the most trait that your clients expect the most out of their local fire department?
Well, probably primarily be there, respond, get there. I mean,
right. 90% of life is showing up. Okay.
Yeah, that's job one. You got to, like Napoleon's, just let's show up, see what happens. But then from there, it's competence. We do go through quite a bit of training, and a lot of it is muscle memory, unfortunately. So, the less you use it, the less you can use it. So hone in on our practices, and half our calls are EMS related. So our EMS skills need to be very well honed to make sure that we're able to mitigate whatever medical situation is going on. But yeah, that's competency in our entry level skills is really key.
Sure. The Thomas Wolfe, who wrote the Right Stuff, and speaking about Project Mercury, and John Glenn and Alan Shepard would talk about the years of training they had, just so they had the muscle memory that when they got into space, there was nothing new. They've seen it all, and in fact said space was actually a lot easier than the training rooms. Is that what you're looking to get through your training?
Oh, absolutely. And and we retrain on things. We'll have a call, and maybe we're like, all right, it went fine, but it didn't go, exactly how we wanted. And we focus on this, especially when we come together as a team the most. Unfortunately, it's probably our CPR calls, and we call it a CPR pit crew. Like everybody comes in and they've got a job, and there's 5 or 6 of us, and we're all doing something, for that. Generally I'm there first, so I'm figuring out that, all right, this is a CPR call, so we redispatch that, and then I start doing what I do, and then as everybody comes in, they're bringing additional equipment, and they know exactly what to do, and then within minutes we've got that person on a stretcher, out of the house and on the way to the hospital.
Do firemen still eat in the firehouse, or do they use Uber Eats to bring the food in? How does that work these days?
We often eat at the firehouse. We get takeout. We have a kitchen committee who makes us great meals. We have people that drop off food. So it's all sorts of things.
Does your firehouse have a pole that you get to practice sliding down?
We do not. We do have a new firehouse, and it's a frequent question we get. And basically, any insurance company will tell you, please do not put in a pole in your firehouse.
Sure. Your job is different in many ways from most people's work in the sense that there's a risk involved. And part of what you're asking these people that you're hiring, this commitment, is that they have to accept some level of risk. How do you, and I know your prior career was all about mitigating risk in financial services. How do you do that here? Is it just through training, or is there something else involved?
It's primarily through training. Also, it's trying to get some people management skills and training into people so they recognize these situations. Sometimes you have to recognize you can't do anything. As an example, we'll get power lines down and they're arcing, sparking all over the place. And it's quite spectacular. They're all over the road. So, we close the road and we hang out there, and we call the power company, and, when they come, they'll shut it off. But, people will come up and it's like, well, I've got to get through. It's like, the road's closed. And like, well, you're the fire department, just move the wires. It's like, well, we don't have any.
You got gloves? Go ahead.
Yeah, we don't have any superpowers for that, and so it's recognizing in a modern situation like that we have to wait, we have to be patient, and
Sure.
and there's no need to take a risk right now.
I have 2 other questions to ask you. I know that you were a varsity lacrosse player at Canisius. And I'm curious why anybody would ever want to be a lacrosse goalie.
Oh, you wouldn't. I had a very short career as a goalie in high school, and subbed in one game in college when our goalie got knocked out, which gave me great confidence to then go into the game. But no, to have a hard rubber ball thrown at you at about 100 miles an hour, and you're really not wearing much equipment, I don't know.
Would you burning house or lacrosse goalie? Which do you prefer?
Burning house every day.
Shawn, who is your favorite fictional character?
You mentioned this early, and I was like, that's probably the hardest question in this whole thing. And, I was like, it could be John McClane, Michael Corleone. And I was like, maybe just Roger Rabbit. I don't know. But
which one are you going with? Roger Rabbit? Are you a tune?
I think with my current role, I'm going to go with Captain Stanley from the original Emergency show. And I don't know if you've ever watched that, but he's the epitome of a leader in an operational ground that you want. He was calm, collective, obviously always made the right call. You strive to be someone like that as far as, business that we're in.
Shawn, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure to have you. And I would say thank you for your volunteerism. It's a beacon call that a lot of people could take up in their community. It doesn't have to be in a fire or EMS. It could be helping out at a food shelter, but you've answered that call, and I'm sure the people of Bedford are grateful to have you do it.
Well, we enjoy doing it, and thank you for having me on this.
Sure. Folks, thank you for joining Swimming the Flood. Resilient leaders face challenging currents, and it's tough navigating. But with one tack or another, we can get there together. Thank you for joining. We'll see you next time.